social activist who has dedicated her life to fighting for women's rights and empowerment. As the current chairperson of the Delhi Commission for Women, she has emerged as a prominent voice in the fight against gender-based violence and discrimination. With her passion, intelligence, and unwavering commitment to social justice, she has become a powerful force in the struggle for gender equality in India. Her tireless work in advocating for rights of women and girls has earned her widespread admiration and respect both in India and around the world. As a fearless advocate for women's rights, Swati ji is truly a force to be reckoned with. Her dedication to ending gender-based violence and discrimination has inspired countless individuals like me to join her in the fight for a more just and equitable world. So thank you and welcome to Rishihood University presents I.I.M.U.N's Classroom to Career series. And we also have Ms. Gunjan.
Thank you for that amazing introduction.
It's all made by young people, and we are very thrilled to have you and so excited to make it happen finally. Joining us, we do have Ms. Gunjan as well, in order to add, a contribution to public service from an academic point of view. To quickly introduce ma'am, she is a deputy registrar with Rishihood, where she's a passionate educationist and a trailblazer in her field with a PhD in education, and she's has her areas of expertise in education policy, governance, and pedagogy. So welcome, Gunjanji, as well. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. And the young volunteers here have put together a bunch of questions. I'm just going to be shooting these at you. The first one for Swati ma'am is, how did your interest in public service, come about, and how did your parents, your family, and everyone react to it? Because, of course, it's not a very sought after field, especially when you are a female. So, how did it start?
Long story, but cut short. My engineering, and once that got over, I got placed in a leading corporate. And there was some period where, there was a joining period, like I had 3 months break and then I had to join the company. And during that period, I came across this old man who used to teach underprivileged children. And I started feeling a bit guilty just looking at him, and I thought, let me volunteer. And when I volunteered with him, I can't tell you, it completely changed my worldview. In any case, I come from a dysfunctional family. I come from a family which was very difficult. I've had a very, very horrible childhood, and there was a lot of pain inside. And then I came across these children who, of course, were underprivileged and who had so much lesser than me. But at the same time, they were 1,000 times happier. And I realized that there is just so much that I need to know and I need to learn, and probably I cannot learn that in a corporate office just sitting in front of a computer the entire day long. So I decided to take a break, and I don't know if you call it a break, because I had not even begun with my career, but I gave it up and I started working on the grassroots, and I volunteered for 10 years. 10 years I just worked on the grassroots. I lived in slums. I, helped women, I helped men. I worked on issues of inequality, poverty, anti-corruption, women issues, and it completely changed me. And this pain that I was carrying, I think it all melted away. So really, when I had joined activism, I thought that I'm trying to do everybody a favor, and I'm trying to, make other people's lives better. But I really did not realize at the time of joining activism that the biggest favor that I did was for myself, because this huge pain inside me, it melted away. And today, if I am what I am and the strength that I display is only because of the grassroots work that I have been able to do, because that really.
Absolutely. And, from your answer, you did not join this field when you left a corporate job. I'm sure you left like a secure financial stream. So, and in today's economy, it's completely very, very important to have that. So, have there been any moments where you look back and you feel like, because right now you're working in such a pressure environment with, I'm sure if you were in corporate, you would have a much more comfortable life. So are there moments of
Money
regret?
for starters. I would have had money for starters. So if see all 10 years of my life, I just completely volunteered. Some friends, they used to give me 5,000 rupees per month. They used to collect it, and that is how I managed my life. I managed my food in that. I managed my travel in that. I managed my phone in that. And even then, I remember I have money to give to others. Because when you live that kind of a life, there is a lot of spiritual learning that you have, which is more precious than anything. Today, when I look back, yes, I don't have money. Yes, I don't have a property. Yes, I don't have a big bank balance. But I really feel that whatever I have earned over these years, the kind of good wishes I have got and the kind of support that I have got, I don't think that any amount of money can, buy me that. So I think that it's very important, of course, for people to be able to be financially secure, but I think it is much more important to be doing something that you find meaning in. So I always chose meaning over security. I always took a lot of risks, and obviously I have done things which have not been like, which have been termed crazy many times. I remember the first day when I went to my home and I told them that, look, I am giving up my job and I'm going to the slum and I'm going to start living in that slum. My mother went into a state of shock. You see, she's a single parent to me. She has brought me up with a lot of difficulty. And it wasn't easy for me to take that decision, because I knew that, there's no rock solid foundation that we have. We have nothing. And able to do it with such strong meaning. Supported me somehow. Obviously, it wasn't like a full on ki haan beta jao, Simran ji le apni zindagi. It wasn't like that. But it was, she did support me. But today she understands, and today all my family, my friends, who kind of let me, just like wrote me off as somebody who doesn't listen and who, I don't know kya andolan karna hai inko. But today they all respect the kind of work that I have done. So I think that if you're really convinced about what you want to do, and if what you're trying to do is having greater impact than yourself, I think one should do it and one should believe in oneself. And that's exactly what I did. And today I may not have big balance. I do not have, rather, but I have a lot of happiness and I feel a lot of meaning. And when I look back, I have done the kind of work that probably people take their entire lives are not able to have that opportunity. So I've been able to create those opportunities and do something meaningful. And I think that is what makes one's life worth living.
Absolutely. And when you started this, it was not for money, but when you started volunteering, did you aim to become, now that you are, the chairperson of the Delhi Commission for Women, was when did that become like a goal? Because you started, it was just an eye-opening moment when you started volunteering. So gradually, did you see that, oh, listen, I want to take that position and then make greater impact, or was it just your work that led you there?
So person, as a human being, my goal is to become a better human being. And I frankly lack ambition. I'm one of those people who are pretty ambitionless. I don't know if that's a quality. I don't know if that's my strength, or I don't know if it's my weakness, but actually that is who I am. So when when I started volunteering on the grassroots, I did it because I really felt and I really think that it has made me a better human being. And then when the Anna Andolan happened, I was a member of the core committee. I was the youngest member of the core committee. I worked at the grassroots. I worked at the back end, and I really enjoyed it. And I really had that hope that we'll be able to bring about a change. And then when the movement became political, lot of, in fact, new people joined in, because, that is where the ambition starts. And that is where you start thinking that, okay, I'll be a who's who, I'll do this, I'll do that. But that is the time when I actually took a step back and I did not join the political party. And I continued my movement and my work with different movements in the country. And then when, the second time the government was formed in Delhi, and I was given a call and I was told that मुझे लड़ने वाले लोग चाहिए, जो लोग जमीन पे रह के लोगों के काम कर सकते हैं, करा सकते हैं लड़के, वो सरकार में और अच्छा काम करा पाएंगे. And then I became advisor to Chief Minister on public grievances, and it was fantastic because I realized that, before that, it used to take me so many days in order to get one little work done through activism. But suddenly I had the power of the pen. I could just write on files and so many people started getting impacted. That completely fired my imagination. And after that, I was told to go to the Delhi Commission for Women. And to be very frank, the first time I was told, I was shocked because I used to think that Delhi Commission for Women, koi retired log baiठte hain. I mean, what does the Women Commission do? Because I had never heard that the commission did anything. And in fact, before me, the chairperson who was there in the commission, she had handled one case in 8 years. But in the past 6 years, we've handled over 100,000 cases. That is because, my work at the grassroots combined with my powers under the DCW Act really, did magic. And one person's case we solved, and then people got about it. More cases are happening, and that's why the Delhi Commission for Women is known nationally and internationally as one solid body which helps girls.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Your contribution has been tremendous, and we've all been witness to it. So thank you for that. But coming to Gunjanji, in the university, how are you preparing girls and your students to become the future Swati Maliwal? And what is that extra that you're adding for your, female students in whenever you teach them public service?
Yeah. Thank you for giving a chance to Rishihood University. We would love to actually create one more or more Swati Maliwal, but technically it is actually very difficult to create the clones. तो काश हम लोगों के कुछ replicas बना पाते, but obviously people are become role models और youngsters के लिए वो aspirations बनते हैं. So university actually believe that every child has some unique strength and abilities. And every child has its own unique story. जैसे स्वाति जी ने अपना एक जर्नी बताया है, तो हर बच्चे का अपना एक जर्नी है, अपना एक स्टोरी है. And beyond that, they have certain aspirations. You can't make somebody like somebody. So we at the university are creating the curriculum which is revolving around creating leaders who will be having an impact in the society. जैसे स्वाति जी ने अपना बहुत अच्छा जर्नी बताया कि कैसे उन्होंने क्या इम्पैक्ट किया. तो our courses, our programs are designed towards it. तो हमारे जो domains हैं, like our design school or our entrepreneurship school, our education schools, our leadership school, all the curriculum programs are designed towards this direction. तो अगर आप design school का देखेंगे, तो all their programs are designed to create leaders in this domain. Entrepreneurship is creating more entrepreneurs for India or for the entire world. Education is working towards creating more academic leaders. And we have a dedicated school which is working towards creating curriculum for actually making public leadership. Public leaders को बना भी सकते हैं क्या? क्या ऐसा भी कोई curriculum हो सकता है क्या? So our experts are working from past 2 years to create such kind of curriculum. बट लीडरशिप एक ऐसा स्किल है जो कि आप 6 महीने में या 1 साल में सिखा नहीं सकते. एंड आई होप कि स्वाति जी का जर्नी भी ये लीडरशिप स्कूल टाइम से रहा होगा, मे बी फ्रॉम हर प्री स्कूल उनके अंदर भी कुछ लीडरशिप इंस्टिंक्ट रहे होंगे. सो दैट्स व्हाई द यूनिवर्सिटी इज वर्किंग विद स्कूल चिल्ड्रन आल्सो. सो वी आर डिजाइनिंग प्रोग्राम्स स्कूल के बच्चों के लिए कि जो उनके अंदर एक स्कूल लेवल पे जो लीडरशिप क्वालिटी अगर उनके अंदर वो एस्पिरेशन है तो उसको मेंटर किया जा सके, उसको ग्रूम किया जा सके. सो आवर प्रोग्राम्स लाइक इंडिक टीन फेस्ट, आवर समर स्कूल प्रोग्राम्स आर डिजाइन्ड टुवर्ड्स स्कूल चिल्ड्रन. सो दैट वे वी आर वर्किंग टू क्रिएट सोशल लीडर्स फॉर द सोसाइटी. और फीमेल्स के लिए मतलब ऑब्वियसली एक सपोर्ट सिस्टम होना इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, क्योंकि हर किसी का, जैसे आपने बोला कि आपका एक जर्नी है, हर बच्ची का भी एक जर्नी है, या इक्वालिटी है, मतलब जिसको जिस तरह की जरूरत होती है. लेकिन अगर आप देखेंगे हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी में भी मोस्ट ऑफ द लीडरशिप पोजीशंस आर विद विमेन, क्योंकि जब औरतें उन पोजीशंस पे होती हैं तो लड़कियों को एक सेफ्टी, सिक्योरिटी, एक वो सपोर्ट सिस्टम मिलता है जिसमें वो ग्रूम हो सकती हैं. सो दैट वे वी आर वर्किंग टुवर्ड्स क्रिएटिंग लीडर्स थ्रू आवर यूनिवर्सिटी प्रोग्राम्स.
No, absolutely. Like you said, first of all, it's very important that we start creating leaders when they are in school. and not wait for them. So I think those qualities to be embedded when they are in a moldable stage is quite important. And you said women are great leaders, which I completely agree. They're always better leaders than men, bias aside. But coming back to Swati ma'am, what have been the most challenging aspects of leading the job that you're doing now as a chairperson of Delhi Commission of Women? If you could just share some anecdotes or some specific aspects which make it very challenging.
Yeah, I think it is extremely, extremely, extremely challenging. And the biggest challenge is that despite all the work that the Delhi Commission for Women is doing 24/7, despite all the programs we are running, we still have at least 6 rapes in the capital every day. In 2018, an 8-month-old baby was raped very brutally in the capital. When I got to know, I immediately rushed to the hospital and the girl was bleeding profusely. We had to get her 3 operations done in order for her to survive. But it angered me so much that despite so much work of the commission and, talking about setting accountability, yet nothing is really being done. And at the end of the day, there's so much lip service to the issue of women's safety, but what exactly is being done? So it was really unfortunate, and I sat on a hunger strike which lasted for 10 days, and I demanded strong punishment for rapists of children. On the 10th day of my hunger strike, the government of the country agreed and a law was passed, an ordinance was passed, which has now become the law. So what I'm trying to say is that it's so difficult that I feel that the governments, if they come together, there is a lot of change that can happen. But unfortunately, it's just not happening. And I think that is the biggest challenge. Because yes, the Delhi Commission for Women is working. The pain of these 500 survivors who are approaching the commission every day, it is becoming our pain. We are internalizing it. Even today, I met so many survivors. When I go back to bed, I take those stories with me, that those tears that they shed and I also shed with them, it just goes back to me every day. So it's so challenging that despite so much trauma that girls and women are facing, steps are not being taken in order to mitigate and in order to create a safe environment. So my biggest challenge is, there needs to be strong deterrence against crimes against women, and that can be done by increasing the resources of police, making the police more accountable, making more fast-track courts, and making sure that the forensics department functions properly, so that there needs to be certainty and swiftness of punishment. I think if that is done, a lot of change can be done. The other challenge is that it's so unfortunate that there is a lot of inertia in the system. I remember when I became the Delhi Commission for Women chair, I was 30 at that time. And there was just so much sexism and so much ageism around my appointment as well as around my work. I remember the first thing that I did when I came here, I wrote a letter to the police commissioner and I asked him about crimes against women data. Basic data. How many FIRs have you registered? How many complaints did you get? How many charge sheets were done? How many people have got convicted? And I wasn't given that data. And in fact, I wasn't given any response. And after 3 months, I felt that I must do more. How do I justify my position as the Delhi Commission for Women if the police commissioner fails to acknowledge my letters? So I issued a notice to him. And I think he got very offended because he wrote me a 14-page letter which said, quote unquote, that if he gives me data on crimes against women, there will be a law and order problem in the capital. After that, I summoned him and I told him that if you do not give me the data, I'm going to issue arrest warrants against you. And then the data came. But you see the kind of effort one has to do in order to just make sure that the Women Commission functions in an effective manner is just huge, and a lot of risks are involved. Not only are we fighting criminals, we are also fighting a lot of government departments on a daily basis, and we are fighting very influential people. So there is risk involved, there is lack of resources that is there is a lack of accountability in the system that we are dealing with, and there is an inertia and there is a common sexism कि ये कल की छोकरी हमें बताएगी कि हमें क्या करना है. So all of these issues together, I think, are the biggest challenges of the Women Commission.
like you mentioned, these 500 stories and 500, the pain of 500 people, you make it yours. How do you deal with it personally? I'm going a little off track here, but does the team? I'm sure the team also is as passionate as you. Like, are there support system in order to help you guys deal with it? Because I remember when I was choosing my graduation stream, I started with family law, and there when I saw that you have to see custody battles and all of that, I was like, this is not my cup of tea. And that is just 1% of what you guys are going through. I mean, seeing like an 8-month-old getting raped, and how do you deal with it? And what is the kind of support that the team is being given in terms of counseling, and even, I mean, I'm sure there must be some kind of threat calls, etc., that you guys get. Is there a mechanism in place in order to help the team function?
So I'm there for the team 24/7. I mean, there have been cases where our team was threatened. There have been cases where our team was attacked. There have been cases when the team has gone on rescue operations and they were held captive. So obviously, because the head of the organization is so on ground, so immediately we reach, immediately we help. All of that is happening. At the end of the day, myself, I have got several threats. Recently, 5 months back, in my house, which is a government house, some men entered and they just vandalized the house. They vandalized the car that was parked there, and they had a knife with them. And the police did not even register a FIR. So I mean, I've got rape threats, I've got death threats. So we are dealing with a physical danger, a danger to life, which is obviously in itself a big mental health issue with all of us. At the same time, every time you speak to a trauma survivor, somewhere you imbibe that pain. And because we are all emotional people, we are all passionate people, it's something that you are not able to like shed off. I can tell you personally, I mean, it has had a huge toll on me. I mean, there were times when I used to feel so low that I would go home, I would keep crying, and I would feel that, I would feel suffocated, that what can I do in order to just, make something which is so simple, make the governments understand something that simple. So it has been very difficult, but like I have started now, after I'm 38 now, and I think for the past 2-3 years, since the time I took divorce from my husband, since then I have become very careful about me. I, for the first time in my life, have started loving me, and I've started looking after me. I make sure, however difficult it may be, however much I may be, much work I may be doing, and however much pressure I may be feeling, but I take out 1 hour every day for a class or for some form of an exercise. I try and do yoga. I try and, in the night, I try, because I used to love reading, but because of so much work, somehow it like I was not able to read too much for some years in between. I make sure that I read a favorite book, and I've started looking after myself, because I think as women, in any case, all women, somewhere unfortunately we are conditioned to not look after ourselves. We are those caregivers in the family, in the society. So now I have learned, in the past 3 years, to look after myself, to love myself, and that is really helping me to do my work as well in a much better manner, because my mind is more focused, my mind is more sane. That said, the entire team, it's very difficult. We are having these conversations again and again. We are trying and having more and more people come and speak to the team, because it's difficult. It's not easy. And however much you talk, at the end of the day, the number of survivors we are dealing with is just so much that you just have to, during that period, during that time, at least that you are in office, and most of the time we are in office, like the entire day, sometimes on, we are the only government office in which Saturday is officially working, and even Sundays many times we are there. But at least we try that, when we go back home, I do encourage my entire team that ghar jaake try and detach, be with your family, just do good things and do things to love yourself, because at the end of the day, who will stand up for you if you don't stand up for yourself?
Absolutely. What you said about women being conditioned to not take care of themselves but take care of the entire world is so true. And I think I can say that for Gunjan ji as well. And I would like her to come in right now and share how we can, from an academic point of view, push more women in politics.
Okay, so when we say politics, for us it is basically public leadership. And when we say public leadership, it is basically from Rishihood, if I can say, it's सेवा. तो अगर आप इसे मैं इसको या हम इसको बस सेवा भाव से देखते हैं, और अगर हम कहते हैं विमेन इन पॉलिटिक्स, तो सेवा मुझे लगता है औरतों को बहुत ही विरासत में मिला है हम लोगों को, और बहुत ही नेचुरल है जो हमारे साथ आता है. तो वेरी नेचुरली वी कैन डू दिस रोल. बट अकॉर्डिंग टू द स्टैटिस्टिक्स बहुत अच्छा नहीं रहा है हमारा हिस्ट्री, मे बी इन फील्ड और एनी फील्ड ऑफ पब्लिक लीडरशिप. सो इफ आई टॉक अबाउट एकेडमिक लीडरशिप, तो अगर आप स्टैटिस्टिक्स देखेंगे तो आपको पिछले सालों में विमेन वाइस चांसलर्स, विमेन रजिस्ट्रार्स बहुत कम मिलेंगी. इवन ऑक्सफोर्ड जो कि इतनी पुरानी यूनिवर्सिटी है, दे टुक अ लॉन्ग टाइम टू अपॉइंट देयर फर्स्ट वाइस चांसलर, विमेन वाइस चांसलर. तो अभी कुछ पिछले 5 सालों में ये स्टैटिस्टिक्स थोड़ा चेंज हुआ है. मोर विमेन आर कमिंग अप फॉर दिस एकेडमिक लीडरशिप रोल, एंड आई होप कि ये और फील्ड में भी अब इम्प्रूव हो रहा है. बट यहाँ पर हमको जरूरत जो बेसिकली है, दैट इज अगेन आई एम सेइंग दिस थिंग बिकॉज वी ऑल आर कमिंग फ्रॉम डिफरेंट माइंडसेट, from different ecosystem, and obviously who is coming from a different strata obviously need a different kind of support or a mentorship. तो यहाँ पर हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूट्स का रोल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, because they are the ones who are dealing with this generation, who are anyway going to take their aspirations forward. तो अगर इंस्टीट्यूट्स को लगता है कि ऐसी बच्चियां हैं, विमेन या गर्ल्स, those who are prone towards leadership or prone towards going to politics or any other leadership form, then obviously the professors or the entire higher education system should support and mentor these girls. That way only we can actually increase the statistics. No, otherwise there is nothing. तो आप एजुकेशन का जो पर्पस है उसको आपको बियॉन्ड समझना पड़ेगा. जैसे मैं आपको पहले भी बोली थी कि वी कांट मेक समबडी लाइक समबडी, और एजुकेशन का पर्पस भी नहीं है, इट्स हायर देन ना दैट इज. तो अगर आपको लगता है कि बच्चियों में वो एबिलिटीज हैं, चाहे वो किसी भी स्ट्रैटा से आती हैं, सो आवर रोल्स शुड बी टू मेंटर दीज गर्ल्स सो दैट दे कैन इंक्रीज और चेंज द स्टैटिस्टिक्स.
No, absolutely. And you spoke about how, from an education point of view, we can increase that. But for Swati ma'am, how can politicians do that? Because today in India, only 14% of women in parliament are, there are only 14% of women in parliament. Even in countries like Argentina, it's 45, in Kenya, it is 22. They are underrepresented, but in India, it's absolute chaos when we see women representation. How do you think, and what is going wrong, and why are women, I mean, I refuse to believe that women are not competent enough to take those positions. So what do you think as young people we can do more in order to, and I don't think it's more about young people, I think it's just about politicians because it's so male dominant. How can we change that?
I think that the route is pretty clear. The goal is pretty clear. There has to be a 50% reservation for women in the parliament as well as in state legislatures. But it's very unfortunate that the people who have to do it probably are all men. And that is why you see that there is absolutely no noise around it. So it's not been a demand that I'm putting forward. It's been something that has been over the years spoken by different people. It's been a part of different manifestos, but when it comes to really implementing on the ground, it doesn't happen. And one counter argument that we generally hear when we have a conversation like this is that many people say कि अरे देखो ये पंचायतों में तो हुआ था, लेकिन उसमें पंचायतों में अब वो पति चलाते हैं, औरतें तो बस वहां पे खड़ी रहती हैं. I will tell you, I have come across so many women leaders who, yes, began their career in politics through their husband. They were probably a rubber stamp initially, maybe for months, maybe for a year, but after that, suddenly and slowly, they realize their potential and they are able to bring about a lot of change. And in a society which is as patriarchal as ours, how do you bring about that change? You have to do it through a legislative means. Maybe initially you will have people who become rubber stamps for a particular period of time. But I'm very confident that women will slowly and gradually be able to assert their rights within the parliament, within the state legislatures, and probably then the governments will wake up to the issues of women. Right now, who is talking about women issues? If you see, a lot of times our parliamentarians who are women, they get heckled inside the parliament. So many times they're not allowed to speak. So many times they're openly abused. So many times sexist comments are made against them and nothing happens. But if you see, if the entire, like the parliament has 50% women or more, I think a lot of changes can be done. So I think that is the way forward, and all efforts need to be done. We all need to get our act together. We need to have that.
But the legislation today, Swati ma'am, has all men. So, I mean, how do we? It's not going to change because they will not. Like, if you see tax on the sanitary, the basic needs of women, we've not done anything about it because it doesn't concern them.
I totally agree with you, and that is why we need more women in these legislatures. But how to do it is really a very, very, very big question. It is something that I keep pondering on almost every other day, because every time you meet a roadblock and you really do feel that what if a woman was here, and what if I would have brought this up to a woman, maybe there would have been a different response. So that is there. At the same time, I would also like to bring in one small point, which is that just because a particular person is a woman doesn't mean that she may or maybe even a better administrator than a man. I mean, that is also there. So I've come across several police officers in my career, and I have seen some police officers who are women who are not that sensitive, and I have seen some police officers who are men who are very sensitive. So at the end of the day, I think we are all human beings, and to say that if we have all women in the system and then there will be a big change, I'm not very sure if that would happen or not. But that said, it is a right of women to be inside the parliament. It is a right for them to be given an opportunity to bring about a change. So I want to put this forward without belittling our male leaders, because some of them are fantastic. But at the same time, I really want that women should be given their right, because we are 50% of the population. Why do we have to be represented by men? Who, I mean, it's okay. They can have half of the parliament, but give us the other half. Yeah.
That's so well said. And we've spoken about this, and now it's been 75 years since our independence, and I think Gandhiji said this, that we will have true freedom when women can wear their finest jewels and walk out safely at night. But of course, we are very, very, very far from that reality. What is your vision for a safe India, and how do you think that this generation, the 1100 people who've joined, most of them are, between the age bracket of 16 to 21, which I.I.M.U.N caters to. What can they do in order to make this dream a reality? That we can go out, like, how proudly people in Dubai and other countries, some countries can say that we can walk around at 2 a.m. and we know nothing is going to happen. I don't think any part of India we can do that, and specifically in our capital. When do you think, and how can the generation, our generation, help in order to push and fast forward this dream into becoming a reality?
So first and foremost is that we should be aware citizens. We should realize that what kind of movements are ongoing in the country. What are people saying? What are people who are sensitive and fighting on the ground for a bigger change? Who are those people? Do we agree with so and so? Or follow the women, follow Swati Maliwal. I'm not saying any of that, but there are people should be much more aware, and especially youth, as to who all are fighting the correct fight and who all are fighting for the cause of women. Because I really think that if you leave 50% of the population out, then I really don't think there can be any development in the country. So I think it is extremely important that we know the right causes, and whether it is environment, whether it is women's cause, whether it is the transgenders cause, I think we need to get people together, and youth has to understand it, has to read about it, has to listen to people, and has to fight for the right cause. That's one. The other thing is that how are we developing as a human being? I mean, I may be fighting with Swati Maliwal for the rights of women, but as a man, how am I? Am I somebody who is a feminist? Am I somebody who believes in equality of the sexes? Or am I the allow man, you know, a person who constantly says, मैं तो अपनी wife को allow करता हूँ कि तुम ड्राइविंग कर लो, मैं तो अपनी बहन को अलाउ करता हूँ कि तुम बाहर काम करने जाओ, मैं अपनी गर्लफ्रेंड को अलाउ करता हूँ कि तुम बाकी लड़कों से बात कर लो. So one has to be a good person, and one has to work towards it, and one has to be as especially as a man, one has to be there for the woman. So I think the youth especially, they have a huge task ahead. Of course their fight will be much lesser than what we have fought. I remember when I was a kid, you know, the concept of say transgender rights, or the concept of body shaming, or the concept of consent. If you look at the kind of Bollywood movies that we had when we were little children, I mean, they were horrible. So if you see, there has been a progress in the society from there till here. But I think even in today's world, we still see a lot of nonsense and a lot of body shaming, a lot of issues that are so there in your face, and they need to be spoken against. And many times you see, I mean, it's a small example, but like, and especially when it is the youth that is involved, your friend might be just approaching you and making a very sexist joke, and that person will laugh, and there will be 4-5 other people who laugh. But are you that person who has the guts to just talk and say that, no, this is not right, you are just like belittling women, and that is not correct, and I don't agree with you, or you're just promoting stereotypes, we should fight against it? Or you are that person who keeps quiet? So I think the youth, as well as other people, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of fights to take up, and I really hope that the people who are listening here, especially, they join the Women Commission, Delhi Women Commission. And even if you don't join the Delhi Women Commission, I would really hope that all these people just take up the right causes and fight the right fight.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, the first step is in order to being aware of what the causes of today are, what are our fights. So everybody here, and this is something our founder Rishabh keeps saying, that read newspapers every day, and that is how we start our day here at I.I.M., and we make sure all of them are reading newspaper only, then touching everything. So I think that is the first, and it's a very valid starting point in order to make any change. But we inching towards the end of the conversation, and we always do a quick rapid fire before we end any conversation. So let me just throw a few words at you guys, and if you can let me know the first few words that come to your mind when I say these words. Yeah. Yeah. So first word, Swati ma'am, is feminism. What comes to your mind?
It's a way of life.
And Gunjanji, feminism. What comes to your mind?
Sorry, but I don't know whether you will agree with me or not, but for me, it's basically distraction.
I don't agree.
Yeah, that's why I said maybe you will not agree, but for me, it's distraction. Yeah.
You have a right to your opinion, I guess. Okay. Let's move on.
That is my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, I think feminism, according to me, is also, I mean, it's not a distraction. I think it's a very valid point. But moving on, Swati ji, when I say Delhi, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Okay, I'm a foodie for food.
Yeah. When I say India, what comes to your mind, Swati?
Right.
Right. And Gunjanji, when I say India, what comes to your mind?
Mera desh.
Mera desh. Swati ma'am, your favorite thing to do to unwind?
Dance.
Dance, wow. When I say youth, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Swati ma'am.
Hope.
Okay. And Gunjanji, when I say youth?
Energy.
And when I talk about I.I.M.U.N, this organization, what did you think about that, Swati ma'am?
Excellent organization.
Alright. Thank you so much, Swati ma'am, and even Gunjanji. I know both of you doing phenomenal work. Swati ji with her, her contribution in education, and Swati ma'am, of course, making the world a little more safe and a better place for us to live in. Thank you for your service, and we're very grateful. And when